Hi ARK family. Today we're going to be looking at the first of our values. Values are really important for us because we have a vision and we can go toward that vision, but if we don't have values then we can take shortcuts to get to the vision. Our values keep us in line, they keep us in check, they make sure that we're heading the right direction and that we know what we're doing. And the very first of our values is obedience. We want to make sure that we are obedient to what God is saying and what God is calling us to. I think obedience is one of the things that the Bible talks about the most. It's actually the undercurrent of almost everything that the Bible says. From the very first moment that humankind separated themselves from God, it was because they chose to be disobedient to God rather than choosing obedience to Him. And I actually think that obedience is God's love language. The Bible talks so much about obeying God and how important it is to Him. In Deuteronomy Chapter 11 verse 1 it says, "Love the Lord your God," and the second part of that couplet is, "Keep His requirements, His decrees, His laws and His commands always." In 1 John 5 verses 2 to 4 it says, "This is how we know that we love the children of God, by loving God and carrying out His commands. This is love for God, to obey His commands, and His commands are not burdensome, for everyone born of God overcomes the world." John 14 verse 21 says, "Whoever has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me." And John 14:23 to 24 says, Jesus replied, "Anyone who loves me will obey my teaching. My Father will love them, and we will come to them and make our home with them. Anyone who does not love me will not obey my teaching. These words you hear are not my own. They belong to the Father who sent me." See, it's not actually possible for us to truly display our love for God without being obedient to Him. And it's one of the things that I love absolutely the most about ARK, and it's the reason that it's our first value. Because what we're choosing to do when we engage in the lives of vulnerable kids and bring them into our families and our homes is we're choosing to be obedient to God. Each one of us in some way has listened to what the Spirit has said to us and said, yeah, I'm going to step up to that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Why? Not because it's easy, not because it's necessarily always fun, but because God has asked me to. And He's asked me to be an ambassador for Him and to be obedient to Him. And so I step into that for that reason. Obedience is not one of those things that has to be burdensome. You know, sometimes we look at the Bible and people say, oh, God's just into a whole lot of set of rules and it's all just about the rules and the regulations. But actually obedience is so much more than that. It's not just simply obeying rules and regulations. It's about having a relationship with a God and a Creator who loves us, desperately cares for us, and wants the best for us. And actually there is nothing more fulfilling than being obedient to someone who has your best interests in mind. Because we don't necessarily make good decisions ourselves. But when we're obedient to what God asks us to do, there is nothing quite as fulfilling as that, because He sees the potential that He's placed in us. And so that's our very first value, and we're going to be looking at many more, well, the other four of our values over the next little while. But I wonder even just how you go with your obedience. I like to ask just a simple question. What is God saying? And what am I going to do about it? And that's simply where it starts. We obey Him because we love Him and we understand that He has our best interests in mind. Thanks heaps for listening. See ya.